This is a prototype I've been working on for about 2 months now called Tempo. I posted a video in February talking about it, and well, now the game looks like this. But how did we get here? I'm going to go over everything I did, starting from the initial proof of concept to the most recent build I've released and what I've learned. When starting this project, I wanted to keep the original vision I had for the game, which was a fighting game. My first idea was to have it be a platform fighter, just without the platforms. That idea morphed into a beat 'em up with movement tech and RPG elements. So after about 2 weeks, this is what I ended up with. Snappy movements, simple combat, and enemy logic. Not only that, but the framework I was using allowed for some nicer presentation with a smooth, dynamic camera and squash and stretch effects for the player and the enemies. What stopped me from continuing on was an issue with the collision system. Ideally, to complement the planned movement tech, I was going to add terrain akin to Sonic games or what you'd see in Rayman Origins, smooth slopes that you could run across. Unfortunately, this framework couldn't really handle those curves. I tried using different collision masks, but figured out that the only way to have slopes was to manually rotate the only available collision shape, a square. That sounded way too tedious. I needed a new approach. So I hit up my pal, Axel, to see if she had a specific framework that we used before. After some back and forth, we decided to take a version of that framework and build upon it to add certain features and quality of life things, since that would benefit both our projects. We called this version Plat Vista. That leads to the next and current iteration of the prototype. Following the advice of YouTuber Bite Me Games, I decided to split my prototype into 3 goals: gameplay, marketability, and technical. The first build would be focused on getting the game loop down, but that first build ended up being dull. The player controller felt nice, but that was the framework doing the heavy lifting. The moves that I added lacked direction, the level design was dull, and the RPG elements were just tacked on. Without reading the game's description, it'd be hard to know what I was going for other than it being a platformer. So I decided to cook a little bit longer and try to figure out what exactly this game was going to be. Doing a beat 'em up combat system seemed like a step too big for my current skill set, though I still wanted attacks to be included. So I simplified the movement, cutting out what didn't need to be there and keeping what needed to be kept. As I was messing around with the combat logic, I added something simple, a slight speed boost when defeating an enemy. That's when I found the hook of the game. A movement-based platformer where chaining together successful attacks increases your speed. And as for the RPG elements, instead of stat boosts, I do a skill tree that would give the player new moves to use to go even faster. So build 2 ended up doing what I wanted the first build to accomplish. The reception to the build was positive, so I kept going and moved on to goal 2. For this next build, I didn't want to focus much on the gameplay aspect, just filling in the blanks of what I missed. Bug fixes and making sure certain features were working properly, like the skill tree. The big focus of this build was to make the game look more like a game. The goal wasn't for polished visuals, but to at least replace most of the placeholder assets to give the game a proper identity, to give someone an idea of what the game would be at a glance. I settled on this 16-bit-ish Sonic-like art style, which I think looks nice but lacks a bit of originality. I felt it worked though, so after about 2 weeks of work, I sent the build out. No comments on the look of the game, but people still enjoyed the feel of it, which was great, especially speeding through the stages as fast as possible, which is exactly what I wanted to see. The amount of people who tried the build on itch, at least during the first week of it being available, ended up being lower than the last build, but I think that's mainly because of the art style. I don't think it's bad, but it's probably not enticing enough for folks to want to click on it. So I think the art direction needs some work, but game mechanics are set in stone. For goal 3, I decided not to do it. I felt like going back and validating systems wouldn't really be worth it because my project isn't a system heavy game. If I wanted to go back and clean up the code, I feel like it'd be worth doing that if the game was actually in production. Putting that type of energy into a prototype would just make this take way longer than it needs to, since these are supposed to be rough and scrappy. Of course, I understand now that prototyping doesn't exactly end when this part's over. Things other than the game loop and art assets need to be prototyped, like certain game features, menus, and even levels. But as for the game itself, I think I can confidently say that this game idea is valid. So it's exciting for me to announce that Tempo 2026 is now officially in production. I think I'm gonna end up changing the name since tempo might give people the wrong idea as for what kind of game this is. But I'm still thinking about what to call it exactly. In the meantime, I'm gonna go back to work and get things moving. I do still plan to share the development journey as things go on, so if you're interested in seeing where this project is going, maybe stick around. Subscribe, but only if you wanna. Anyways, if you wanna try the most recent version of the prototype, the link is available in the description. Even though things are moving forward, I'd love to hear what you have to say about the game, whether you leave a comment here or leave a comment on the game's page. Either way, I appreciate your feedback and your time. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.